So this is Michael Lyons, and I'm going to show briefly how you can upload your NIME paper to Archive, which is a physics and astrophysics and computer science reprint and preprint archive. It has a long history. It's very stable. It's indexed all over the place, and I think it's worth archiving more NIME papers here because it's a very visible repository and gets the word out about your paper and could influence the impact. So I already have an account at Archive, and if you want to use this, you're going to have to create an account. So that's relatively straightforward. And assuming you've done that, there is a submission form which is pretty intuitive. It's just start new submission. And if you have created your PDF using LaTeX, then Archive will not accept the PDF. It will automatically reject it. It wants your LaTeX source materials. So you're going to have to get your LaTeX files ready for submitting. If you have created it with another package such as Word, then it will accept your PDF. So if you're using the Word template in your NIME submissions, then you can just submit the final PDF, the conference published PDF at Archive, and it should accept it. If it's prepared with the LaTeX template, then you're going to need the source files. Now, there's a convenient feature in Overleaf. This is optional, but it's a nice way to go, I think, if you're using Overleaf. And that is to, when you've got your files all in Overleaf and verify that it compiles correctly and gives you the format that you want to publish or that has been published, the final version of your NIME paper, then there's a function here called submit, naturally enough. And if you just click that, seems to be a little bit slow, and it has all kinds of different repositories that it's connected to. But here's Archive, and so you can select the submission link for that and just download a zip file with the submission files that it needs. And so the good thing about this is that it doesn't need all of the files that are created by LaTeX when you compile it, but it does need some of the files that are not just the normal tech and biblio file. It needs the BBL file as well. So this makes sure, this Overleaf function makes sure that it has all the files that Archive needs. You can, of course, prepare your files with any LaTeX publishing system that you want, whether it's TechLive or what is it? There's several. Whatever you want, you can prepare it like that. But just be careful. You'll get an error if you try to submit something that doesn't have the BBL file. Okay, so that's a frequent error with this. Okay, so I have downloaded the appropriate zip file, and now I'm just going to submit to Archive. And all that button does is it brings you to Archive and it starts the submission for you, but the rest of it you have to do manually. So it's not an automatic submission function, but it's still nice to have that in Overleaf. Okay, so to continue with the Archive submission, you need to say that you need to verify that you are the author, and you will need to have registered with an institutional address or whatever your correct address is. And then you might want to read about the instructions. I'm just going to say I've read them because I have. The submission terms and agreement, you actually have to open that and scroll to the bottom and accept it. And of course, the first time you probably should read that so that you understand what you're getting into. And then you need to verify that you are one of the authors. It's unlikely that you will be submitting as a third-party submitter. We can submit NIME articles as a third party. We have, NIME steering committee has created an account so that we can do that. But it's preferable if you do this as an author. So I'm doing it as an author in this case. And then you will choose a license. And for NIME articles, they are archived already at Zenodo. So a Creative Commons by for license has already been applied to all published NIME articles. So that's the most appropriate selection in this case. Now, subject class. So it will be computer science. NIME will come under computer science. And then human-computer interaction is probably the best. I think there's also sound. So you could submit it in sound, but we're recommending that people submit within human-computer interaction as the primary category, and you can also add secondary or tertiary categories, so that's not an issue. Okay, so continue with that. Now you have to upload your zip archive with the LaTeX source or your PDF if you're using the Word template or if you have used the Word template. So you browse to that, and I had some very strange zip file title that I got from Overleaf. This is the one that I want. And just upload. And that'll take a few seconds. Oh, and so it removed the PDF file. So it does not actually need a PDF file. In this case, it was already included. So that has been removed, has it? It still says that it's here. It seems to be an unrelated PDF file that was in that archive. I hope that wasn't one of the figures. That might be something to check. Okay, in any case, once you've got all these files, and as you will see, the BBL file is in there as well as the style files and the bib file and a license PDF here, and as well as the original source file, of course. So it did keep the PDF, but it will not use that. It will create a PDF. Archive will create its own PDF. Okay. So let that run and compile. And then you can check the PDF that Archive has created, and it puts this nice informational tag on. It looks very official, and this can also be used to identify it as an alternative to the DOI, which we have, of course, for all published NIME articles, with a date. So this will be the date on which we published at Archive. Okay, so just check to make sure that your PDF file is okay, and I think it looks okay. This is an article co-authored with Alexander Jensenius when we released our NIME Reader in 2017. So this was published, I guess, at NIME 2016 in Australia to kind of let people know about our process of editing, selecting this NIME anthology, this first NIME anthology, as well as making suggestions for people to make their own anthologies, not to just be satisfied with ours, but to think about how you can use the existing NIME history, NIME collection of articles that have been published for creating your own anthology and maybe having a publishing project with that. Okay, so we've checked that. And we've got to go back, and then, that will tell you where the errors were, if there were any. There were not in this case. Continue with that. And now you'll have to fill in the metadata. So for that, I guess what I can do is I can copy it over from Overleaf. Right? I can go to I can do it from the PDF, I think. But you could go to your source file also if you want to do it that way. And title. Authors, they want first names first. So I think if I look at the PDF, I'll just get those as in the correct order. If they can be, oh, they cannot be copied oddly. Oh, no, they can. Maybe it's easier to copy from the source file. Selecting in a PDF is a little bit tricky, and just separate those with a comma. So make sure you get that information. Make sure you get the metadata right, because this is like an official publication. When you submit it to archive and it's released, you can update another version, but the old version is going to be preserved. And so make sure that you've got the correct metadata in there the first time if possible. So be somewhat careful, as if you were publishing. Think of this as an actual publication release. And comments, I like to put in the number of pages and figures. There's one table, and I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages with one table. In this, might as well have identifying. And then it says that it wants the conference or other essential info, but we're going with a convention that we would put the conference title in the journal reference instead of following this advice. And that seems to work as well. So report number, I think you can leave blank. The conference or NIME conference would be, let's follow we're following a certain format, and I can quickly check by seeing one of my other submissions. So this was a NIME 5 article. And I think in this case I did put it in the comment section, but I think it's better to put it in the journal section, since it is usually a final publication for NIME. A lot of people don't do journals. Okay, and make sure that has the right year on it. In this case, it would be 2016. But otherwise, this Proceedings of the International Conference on New Interfaces for Musical Expression. If you want to, you can put a NIME acronym in there. But I think this is kind of a good standard format. The DOI, we do know it, because we do have a DOI because, as I say, all of these are archived at Zenodo. Alexander arranged for these to be, with the help of some volunteers. I don't know offhand who those were. But so you can just quickly do a search in Zenodo for the item in Zenodo, and that will have an official DOI. So you should follow that. Oh, that's another site. Weird. Why is it not on? Why is this not on Zenodo? Well, I can also get it from the NIME site, because the NIME site has been updated with the DOI information as well. Oh, it's not even letting me go there. Weird. Okay, so I'll have to do it from the top level of NIME. Go to Proceedings and just do a find for what was it again? Transit NIME or something. If I do a find for the title, part of the title, there it is. Okay, and here is our DOI on the NIME page. So I think we don't need the precursor. Well, let's just get it all, and then we'll delete that if we don't need it. Can't remember whether. Oh yeah, I think we only need the number. I don't think we need all that URL stuff there. Now, ACM class, what we recommend as a default is H55. I remember that well because I always use it. And that is sound and music computing. Sound and music computing. But you can also add others if you want. I think for the time being, I'm just going to add that. But you could add other ACM classifiers if you like. MSc class, you can do it if you want, but that's the American Mathematical Society it's not really necessary, and Archive doesn't complain if you don't have it. So I think we'll just leave that out and stick with the ACM class, which is Sound and Music Computing. Now be careful, there's also a K.5, and that was the old category for sort of media art type of computer science work. But for sound and music computing, this is the recommended category, which is newer. And so let's at least have everyone put that on their NIME submissions, plus whatever else you want as secondaries. Oh, one thing you do have to be careful of is that the Archive submission template does not really like quotation marks that are copied in. So you have to go back in and enter them from your keyboard. And also my Grammarly is complaining about a few things. It's actually helping with a few things. I just started using Grammarly recently. Mixed feelings, but it does sort of add an element of interest when you're writing something. Okay, so let's get rid of all of those problems. This is probably kind of boring to watch me do this. Nobody should really do this in public, but it's preferable to having to edit this video. So you're going to have to watch me do something which is terribly boring. Skip ahead is the advice. Skip through this part and don't watch me. Seems that the QuickTime, I don't know if QuickTime has a pause where you can just pause while you're doing something like this. I don't think so. Okay, so save that. It should hopefully be okay. Oh, field title. So I'm going to have to retype this dash, actually an M dash, and probably the quotation marks as well. So it really wants those to be retyped. And hopefully there's one more in the abstract. Oh, there's also a mistake here. Maybe this rediscovering needs to be retyped. Let's give that a try. One more in the abstract, but it's not so nice as to tell me where it is. So I'm going to have to search for where this might possibly be. I have no idea what the problem is. It's not popping out at me. Oh, maybe this 15-year dash was not retyped. Let's try that. I wish they could fix this problem. This is one of the downsides of the submission form. Otherwise, it's pretty solid, I think. Still a problem. I might have to edit this video. This is going on too long. Approaches. I really do not know. Rediscovering. This one maybe. Let's try that. No. Oh no, yes, that worked. That was it. That was the last one. So now we have our metadata, and it gives you some advice about making sure you check things. You should probably read that the first time you go through this. And we can add another category. So let's at least add sound. You know, you can think about adding other. These are archive categories. And what this determines is these get announced on places like Twitter and some other RSS feeds. And these categories will decide where your article gets announced. So, you know, if you're doing machine learning, then make sure it goes out on the machine learning announcements as well. And you can add, I think, up to 5 or 6 of these. So, you know, if there is something relevant to what you're doing, then by all means, go ahead and add. I think for this one, I'm just going to stick with these two. And I've already viewed my article, so I don't think I need to do that again, or our article, I should say. It's not just mine. And so it's ready to submit. And hit the submit button, and you will get this status update. And it will take a couple of days. There's a schedule. You can check the FAQ for, there's a help menu for this system, and you can check the schedule. It takes a day or two for this to actually show up, and then it takes another day or two, maybe 3, for it to show up in Google Scholar. So it's an easy route into Google Scholar if you're looking for that for your other work in this area. I think most of the NIME papers are in there already. And it also gets abstracted in some other fairly interesting places. So I think it's worth doing this. It's a little bit involved, but once you're used to it, you can do it in 5 or 10 minutes. And I think it has some benefits. So we're encouraging everyone to archive all their past NIME articles. And we've talked with the administration at Archive, and they're very happy. At one point, we were thinking of doing a bulk upload, but this is much more oriented for the individual authors, so we're going with that instead. But they're very happy about NIME authors archiving at this archive.org. So please go ahead and make use of this, and it will spread your work, disseminate your work further, and is good for visibility and is very solid. This is one of the earliest publication archiving resources, has been going since I was a graduate student, which is quite a long time ago. The start, I think, in the very early 90s, maybe 1990. So this is super solid and will continue to be so. And it's worth putting your NIME contributions here and having a NIME presence at this very classic repository. That's all. You're welcome to contact me to ask questions, or we've got a discussion going on the forum, so that's another option. Any case, have fun archiving your articles. And that's all for now.